Hello guys, today's topic for conversation is something a little bit different. We're going to be discussing porn addiction. Now, keep in mind before we go any further, I am not a doctor. I am not a psychologist. I'm not a counselor, anything of the sort. I am a full service escort, also known as a prostitute, who only has first-hand experience, I guess, encountering men who struggle with this. It's something that I don't think is spoken about enough. And I do want to cover the topic. I just want it to be known that I am not a health professional, okay? I am only talking about this from my experience as a woman interacting with some men, not all of my clients are like this, some men with a porn addiction. So let's talk about it. So not only am I an escort who encounters hundreds of men a year, if not thousands, no, I think we'd still be in the hundreds per year for work. So a lot of the time I do experience and see the signs of this firsthand, like in person, one-on-one with these guys. I'm also very compassionate to addiction. If you didn't know, maybe you haven't been following me for a long time, this is the first video you've seen of me, or you've only watched a few. I've struggled as an alcoholic for actually most of my career, both as a dancer and a full service worker. And I've really only started to get that under control in the last 4 to 6 months, okay? So I do understand what it is like to have an addiction and what it is like to, I guess, face that, accept that it's an addiction, and how hard it is to stop. I completely understand that. I do understand my addiction was not to porn, but I am very genuinely compassionate about this topic. I think porn addiction is something that's often missed because, you know, we maybe put it to the back and we're like, no, it's not that big of an issue. It's not costing me anything in a lot of cases. I mean, some go through OnlyFans, but majority, you know, are watching through Pornhub and stuff like that. It's free content. It's not like it's affecting their finances. Maybe they think that that amount of porn consumption is completely normal. Maybe in their head, they're aware that something's wrong, but they're like, no, you know, at least I'm not drinking myself to death or smoking or gambling or taking hard drugs. Maybe maybe people are putting this on the back burner because they don't really think it's as important or as bad as other addictions. And I am absolutely not here to shame anybody. I want to make that very clear. I am not here to shame anybody. I have clients who opened up to me about this in person, one-on-one. There is no judgment or shade from me. I produce porn as well. I'm a full service worker who also does OnlyFans, okay? Now, what happens is when we have any sort of addiction, especially when we're doing this thing, and in this case, the act is consuming porn and wanking, getting off to that porn, we are getting a quick, easy dopamine hit, right? What happens over time is that the same content that was previously getting you to completion and you were enjoying and getting a dopamine hit from, it stops working. And this is where I think we become very aware that there is an issue. If you started out watching, let's just say, for example, maybe solo videos and like maybe couples posting their content to Pornhub, right? And it's like very like romantic in style, that kind of thing. But now you're at a point where you can't get where you're trying to go unless it is extreme hardcore content. We are talking like face fucking, we are talking like snot coming out the nose, we are talking like tearing up, crying. You get what I mean? And it doesn't have to be that extreme, but we are seeing a movement in the severity and the intensity of the content we're consuming because we're addicted. And now the content that previously got us off isn't anymore, and you just keep taking steps and steps and steps towards more extreme content. What happens when we're consuming that intense content is it also comes with a lot of shame. We're embarrassed to discuss what content we are consuming because in a lot of cases, you may not agree with being violent towards women. That may go against your like moral belief, but you are consuming that content and you don't want to have a discussion with someone like myself, a provider, anybody in your life about that. It's coming with so much shame that you are consuming this kind of content and at such a rapid pace. Essentially, you are chasing dopamine and you are getting dopamine from porn. It is a quick, easy fix, a quick hit, exactly like someone like myself will get a quick fix from having a glass of alcohol. Now I've got that bit down packed. Something that I really want to discuss is that porn is not real. Porn is not realistic, okay? And why this is relevant to the addiction is I think that in a lot of cases, what I see as an escort is it translates into men feeling that every experience they have should be exactly like porn. So let's go back a step. Porn is not real. As somebody who actually produces the porn, I know how much goes into getting that seen, okay? How many conversations and discussions of consent. Most of the time with these OnlyFans collabs, the male performer will be filming you discussing what your hard no's are before you even get into the scene, okay? There is so much conversation around consent. You're not seeing that when you consume the content. A lot of these really hardcore scenes, even just the normal scenes, it is stopping and starting. It is not 45 minutes straight of her being pounded that rough, okay? In a lot of cases, the very hardcore scenes, it's not more than 5 minutes before you are stopping and having to take a break as the performer. That is just the standard. Even in not hardcore content, okay? There's a lot of stopping and starting. There's moving camera angles. There are a lot of breaks. So translating that into a real experience is difficult, okay? We do our best as providers, we really do, but porn is not real, and we can never make it real, because when you're consuming porn, you're simply laying there, you're in a relaxed state, you're not actively participating or exerting energy doing it, and you're getting all of these amazing views, right? Close-ups, there is this angle, that angle, what you cannot see while you are actually having sex a lot of the time. It's a very overstimulating thing watching porn. There is a lot going on. There's close-ups, there's this, there's that, there's noises. There is so much going on which keeps your brain so busy, right? There's all this stuff happening, overstimulated. And when you try to do that in the real world, you're kind of like, oh, like this isn't enough for me. Another thing in regards to it being not realistic is that if you actually go and watch interviews with a lot of these porn stars, they openly discuss that they do not enjoy producing hardcore content. They don't enjoy it. They are not getting off when they're producing it. You can go and find this for a fact. You can type it into YouTube. There will be plenty of interviews of women discussing this that have done super hardcore scenes, okay? It's their job to act. It's their job to act like they are enjoying that. Majority of women in real life do not enjoy super hardcore sex. There are women that do. I'm not saying there are none. There are some. And every time I make note of that, oh, there's a swarm of women in my comments being like, oh, I love hard sex. Don't tell them not to do it. That's a discussion of consent that you have with that person, okay? You say you like it rough, sweet. But majority of us do not want to be treated like a punching bag. We don't want to be choked without consent. We don't want our hair ripped. We don't want to be face fucked to the point that we vomit, okay? It's not enjoyable for us at all. And for some reason, for people who consume a lot of porn, they're seeing this content and thinking, because of the noises and things, the acting, that that's what women like. So they come here, they book me, okay? And they think that I'm enjoying that sort of behavior in the room, which is actually not at all services that I provide. And I actually haven't consented to any of that sort of stuff. So as I've said, with it not being real, with you constantly building this tolerance to the level, the severity of porn that is getting you where you're trying to go, it's impossible to make that a reality for you, because porn isn't reality, okay? It's not real. Even a provider who did an extreme porn star experience for you and allowed all of those things, you wouldn't get the same hit, because you've conditioned your brain to be attracted to those pixels on the screen. Seeing a person in the flesh and experiencing it in the flesh is no longer doing it for you. Or maybe it is still doing it for you, but it's harder to get to the end result. And a lot of times, men with porn addictions, when they are having a real life in-person encounter, they are imagining and playing porn in their head, picturing porn or porn audios, if they're not fully, envisioning the scene, in order to get into the moment, in order to enjoy it. They're picturing porn while having actual sex with a human being, because that is the only way they can get to where they're trying to go. This is a massive sign that you likely have a porn addiction. This is something that's super common. It's actually, from the studies that I read, it's 1.2% of women and 4.4% of men that struggle with porn addiction, that are self-claiming, I struggle with porn addiction. So honestly, the numbers are probably a bit higher than that with people who are in denial about the addiction and the severity of it. but it's not something that's easy to discuss. Who are you going to go and talk to about having a porn addiction? It's probably something that you are not comfortable talking to your family about, for sure. And it's probably unlikely you have friends around you that would really, you'd be open to having this kind of conversation with, because of the stigma that comes with it, okay? It's very different if, you know, I talk to my friends all the time about my alcohol addiction. And yes, that does come with a level of shame, absolutely. You know, there's shame surrounding being an alcoholic, but it's a lot easier conversation to have with other people and seek help for than a porn addiction. I completely get that. But you have to find somebody that you can discuss it with. You have to start trying to get help, whether that is beginning with just online content, trying to get the tools to help yourself that way, going to therapy, which I always recommend, even though men seem to hate the thought of having to go to therapy. Everybody should go to therapy. There are peer support groups online. You can find these. There are also like people who dedicate all their content to this topic. So they may be on TikTok and stuff like that, Instagram Reels, just discussing this issue. So you can build a community or have at least somebody who's in the same boat as you to discuss these things with. And of course, if you're a client of mine, I am more than happy to discuss these things in person. I'm not a professional, as I've said. Well, I am a sex professional, but I am not a doctor or a psychologist or anything like that. But I am happy to have these conversations. I think it's really important that anyone struggling with this starts to take steps in the right direction towards getting help for a variety of reasons. One of them being that that's a lot of time and energy that you put into consuming this porn. Especially people who are heavily addicted, it can be multiple times a day that they are doing this. That energy, that time, that finding the right video, that setting yourself up, you could be redirecting that into anything else. It could be a hobby, it could be an activity, it could be starting a business. There are so many more productive things that you could be doing with that time instead of suffering with this addiction and putting all of your energy into it. It massively impacts the relationships and your ability to enjoy connections with a real human being. I see it all of the time as an escort, okay? And I can imagine that it's actually more difficult in terms of real dating because they would have less understanding and compassion for the situation than a professional provider would. Firstly, I do think it can get to a level where it can impact the way that you see women in general. It can lead to a lot of frustrations towards them if that's not. It can lead to frustrations and being angry and rude to women. I have seen that. However, for most of my clients that suffer with this, that's actually not the case. What I do see it impact a lot is their ability to hold an erection or to reach completion, even if they are booking an extended period of time. Usually, at least in what I encounter in my line of work and in my experiences, the getting it up isn't actually the issue. It's the keeping it hard that is a struggle sometimes. And I can normally see signs that this may be coming into play. Sometimes the client will be particularly bossy about what I am doing wrong and wants to shift the blame onto me as the provider. And they've paid me good money for it. I'm not whinging about that. I'm more than happy to try whatever it is they want to suggest to, fix the situation, to try to help them get going. But a lot of the times that frustration at themselves is redirected towards me, which leads me to dislike the client because of the way that they are treating me in some of these instances. And I can imagine that same issue would translate into dating. If you are getting angry with someone that you're dating because they're not doing something right and nothing that they're trying is getting anything working. This happens because, again, you're now conditioned to be sexually aroused by the content and the overstimulation that is the content, and what you're seeing in person is now boring, which is why he is not into it. He is not enjoying it because you've conditioned him, your penis, to get off to porn, not to get off to real life experiences and real women in the flesh. It's pixels that you're getting off to. Another thing that happens a lot is an inability to finish. I do see this a lot. Obviously not every single time someone can't hold an erection and can't finish, it's not always a porn addiction, but it is quite frequent that it is. If we are going for 45 minutes, an hour straight, I've even had clients go for 2 hours straight and be incapable of finishing. To me, that indicates that there's something not quite right there. It may not necessarily be a porn addiction. But if trying every single weapon in my arsenal as an escort who's been working for 3 years, if nothing is getting you to the finish line, there's a good chance that it's because you're used to only doing it yourself, you're only used to doing it the way that you do it. And what also can happen, and that I see quite a lot of, is, you know, we might have gone 45 minutes of having sex, which is a long period of time if you look into how long people usually last. 45 minutes, 50 minutes, the alarm is going off, they're like, oh, I only ever finish from a hand job. That may also be an indicator that you're addicted to porn. Not always, but a lot of the time. And I promise you right now, I am not judging you. I am not judging or shading you, okay? I just think it's important that you're aware of what you're doing to yourself and what you're doing to your body. I completely understand that going fully cold turkey off of porn when you're an addict is not good. It's really not an option. It's not realistic. I know that as somebody who's had to wean myself off alcohol over months, okay? I understand that. And I'm never gonna be the type of person to be like, just don't watch it. I know it's not that simple. It is an addiction, okay? Completely get it. When you first quit porn or try to wean yourself off of it drastically, you'll face a lot of weird repercussions for that within your body, and it will be very similar to what I experienced weaning myself off of alcohol. It'll be insomnia, so not being able to sleep probably, low energy levels that just translate throughout the day, just feeling like shit pretty much, depression, low motivation, again, feeling like shit, anxiety, irritation, inability to focus, that's something that I struggled with a lot, and also aches and pains of the body, which I know sounds really bizarre, but that was something that I experienced with alcohol, and like any addiction, it'll probably be the same for porn. You're really gonna have to figure out what your triggers are and what's getting you to the point of feeling that urge. Why do you feel that way? Because normally we are addicts to something because we are trying to block something out. We're trying to avoid something. And if you take the time to go and try therapy or try a support group and have people around you to try to work out what those triggers are, you're probably going to have a lot more success on trying to help with this situation. And it doesn't need to be perfect, okay? I'm not saying you never have to watch porn again. I mean, great, if that's what you want to do, absolutely, go for it. But that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is it's really important that you take steps in the right direction to try to help with this before it takes hold of your life more than it already has. And I promise you, this video is coming from a place of love. I make money on porn, I sell porn, okay? I'm one of those girls, okay? I make a living from selling this content, okay? So there's no reason for me to be on here shit talking people with porn addictions, okay? Because likely a lot of the subscribers on my pages struggle with these things. Personally, I know that there isn't a lot I can do as an individual. I'm hoping this video might help at least somebody. Try not to produce super hardcore content, first of all, because I hate it, and it's very triggering for me to have to experience those things, but also because I know that the men who are hunting for that really hardcore content are probably addicted, and I don't want to be feeding into that. I understand that me making the content is, I get that, but I don't want to be making it worse in that sense. I don't think porn is the devil, absolutely not. I think porn is fucking great. I watch porn, okay? But I think when it becomes a point where it's a daily thing or like multiple times a week, I don't know if that's necessarily healthy for us. I think we should be able to get off without porn. Firstly, in person-to-person experiences, like, you know, booking an escort, having sex with your girlfriend, a random date, a one-night stand, whatever it is, your wife. But also being able to masturbate without using the porn. I think that's really important too. Anyway, I think that's all I have to say on this topic. Again, I am not a medical professional. I am a hooker and porn star who was an alcoholic, okay? This is just information that I've put together. I've got a few clients who have been discussing this kind of thing, and I'm hoping maybe having an escort, a porn star, a hot chick on the internet, tooting my own horn a bit there, some hot chick on the internet talking about porn addiction, maybe like one person will encounter this video and they'll be like, yeah, like, okay, something in that resonated. I'm just gonna try to cut it in half. Perfect, that's a fucking start, okay? It's the same with the alcohol, you know? I remember my therapist saying to me, I don't wanna hear you've had more than 5 drinks a day. And I was like, 5? What? How am I gonna cut down to 5? Okay, and to me that was insane. That was insane to ask me to only have 5 standard drinks a day. That was just ridiculous. I was like, I'm never gonna survive this. Sure enough, it took some time and I broke the rules a few times. There were some times I had 20 and sometimes I had 30. But now, it's maybe 5 a week. It's New Year's Eve right now that I'm filming this. It's New Year's Eve. It's like 7 p.m. when I'm filming this video for you. I haven't had a single drink yet. I'll have a couple of drinks tonight. But I know that alcohol doesn't have a hold on me anymore. And I know that you can do this too. I know you can. I believe in you. And I hope you find people in your life that you can talk to about this. I hope there's somebody. If there's not somebody, find a support group. A lot of them, they're free. And get some help and have someone just to discuss it with, you know? You'll find it a lot easier if you have a little bit of community, even if that community is just one person, okay? Anyway, I hope this has helped. And yeah, thank you for listening if you made it this far.